This is Africa, my continent, the continent that continues to be exploited by the imperialists. This video, we are going to go deep dive onto strategies used by the Europeans to continue exploiting African resources. Watch the full video, like and subscribe. Africa is a great continent. Africa, we have all the ingredients to grow and develop our continent. If it is human resources, it's available. If it is natural resources, that too is available. But the popular question is, what is it or who is it that is making Africa vulnerable? It's like our forefather, our ancestor Kwame Nkrumah and other African leaders foreseen this happening in the early 1960s. When our African leaders converged at Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, 1963, to sign a charter to form African state, United States of Africa. Among their speech, Kwame Nkrumah Osejiofo's speech stood out. Kwame Nkrumah suggested to all the other 32 states of African head of states that we must not leave this conference room without joining our military together, joining our government to create a one leader or one government. Did they listen to him? They listen to him not. It's been proven time without number, Osejiofor Kwame Nkrumah. The fight for African Union among the Pan-Africanists, Kwame Nkrumah Osejiofor stood out. Kwame Nkrumah fought for African liberation. In 1957, Kwame Nkrumah said that the independence of Ghana means nothing if African countries or other African countries do not have their independence. This is Osejiofor. And in 1958, he repeated the same statement. And 1960, in Morocco, he also mentioned the same statement. The independence of Ghana means nothing if African countries do not have their independence. Kwame Nkrumah converged in Manchester, England, with other Pan-Africanists. Jomo Kenyatta was there. W.E.B. Du Bois was there. The reason of the conference was to liberate Africa from colonial yoke, to create African unity, among other things. Africa is weak. Africa is weak in all aspects. And the European powers know this. In fact, they set the system in 1884 and 1885. When they converged at Berlin, Germany, to partition for Africa, the European tribes, the Portuguese were there, the Germans were there, the French were there, and the British were there, and the Belgians were there. They divide Africa arbitrarily among themselves, with the intention to exploit Africa to benefit in Africa's natural resources, leaving Africa vulnerable and poor. That is why they create the boundary demarcations in Africa. You have the Anglophone, you have the Francophone, and you have the Lusophone. Africa, we are weak. We cannot unite. Osejiofor Kwame Nkrumah. Understand this. when he converged at Cairo 1965, you know, Kwame Nkrumah and other Pan-African leaders know this when they converge at Cairo, Egypt, 1964, to discuss whether the boundaries that were drawn by the imperialism, to see whether it was necessary. Some of them agreed that in the sense of preventing conflicts among Africans, it is necessary. The boundary demarcations made by the imperialism was necessary if we are working towards the African unity. But Africa continued to be exploited. Africa and African resources and Africans continue to be exploited. You know, Republic of Congo, Patrice Lumumba's Congo, is the richest country in the entire world, Congo. But after the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, Congo has never been the same. The people of Congo have never seen peace. And after the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the imperialism, they installed a puppet leader, Mobutu. Mobutu kukumbendum. Mobutu was a horrible leader. Mobutu kukumbendum was a horrible leader. Go to Burkina Faso. They kill Neocolonialism Thomas Sankara because Patrice Lumumba and Thomas Sankara were Pan-Africanists. We are working to African interest, not in European powers, their interest. So they see those people as a threat, so they get rid of them. Kwame Nkrumah, after publishing his book, Neocolonialism and its Final Stage, which was established in 1965, which led to, or which culminated to the assassination of Osejofo Kwame Nkrumah. You know, if you go to Ghana, Osejofo Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was not only a Ghanaian, but Kwame Nkrumah was an African, a proud African. If you go to Kwame Nkrumah's grave, Kwame Nkrumah is weeping. My people, African people. Go to Burkina Faso and stood at Neocolonialism Thomas Sankara's grave. Thomas Sankara is weeping, my people, my people. Go to Congo and stood at the grave of Patrice Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba is weeping, my people, my people. Africans, it's high time for us to unite. Africans will unite, and Africans should unite to create one government, one system, one foreign policy, one currency, under one leader. That is the only solution. That is the only way for Africa. The neocolonialism is back. The colonizers are back with a new project, neocolonialism. They are finding new ways and methods to exploit Africa and its resources. You know, if you go to Congo, Republic of Congo, Congo is in chaos. African Union, what are you doing towards that? Congo is the richest country in the entire world, and yet the people of Congo are living in destitution and poverty. African problem need African solution, but we cannot allow the EU to send their troops to Congo or other African countries to maintain peace. Where is the ECOWAS? Where is the SADC? Where is the AU? This is your job, to maintain that the sovereignty of Africa remain intact. That is why I said Africa is weak. Africa is weak. We must rise. And if it has to be revolution, African revolution, to get out of this neocolonialism, we must do it. Africa must be liberated, and Africa should be liberated. Africans are suffering. Africans are suffering. Go to Nigeria, the giant of Africa. Go to Nigeria. Nigeria has a population of 500 plus million. 500 plus million people in Nigeria. Go to Kenya. Kenya has a population of 50 million. Other African countries like Senegal and other African countries 17 million. Gambia is 3 million. So this is the condition of Africa. The total combined population of Africa is 1.5 billion. And the total GDP of Africa is 3.1 trillion. What is 3.1 trillion? The GDP of German is 4.8 trillion. German, the population of German is 84 million. The population of German is 84 million. What is 84 million compared to 1.5 trillion, 1.5 billion? What is 84 million compared to 1.5 billion? This is the state of Africa. You know, the colonizers, Africa is their hunting ground. They treat Africa as their backyard. Whenever they need natural resources, they will come to Africa, deploy their military, and steal our natural resources. You know, when you go to Congo, the military groups that are fighting each other, if you ask them the reason behind their fight, they will not give you a convincing reason. Because they themselves, they do not know the reason behind the fight. Because it's a sponsored fight. I think African Union and African head of states, African organizations should send a crusading team to Congo to rescue Congo and the people of Congo. Africa is for Africans. The land of Africa belongs to Africans. This was a famous word uttered by all the Pan-African leaders. Africa is for Africans. The land of Africa belongs to Africans. You know, Africans in the early 1960s to 1980s, they have huge ambitions towards African unity and African liberation. In 1980, Lagos Plan of Action, the head of state of Africa met at Lagos to discuss Africa continental free trade, Africa unity, and Africa liberation. Did they do it? No, they do not. This and among other African conventions in the early 1960s to 1980s failed. But it's high time for Africans to continue the fight that was started by our forefathers, our forebears, the Pan-Africanists, Jomo Kenyatta, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, Delwa Kiser Kumakwe, and other African leaders. To raise the Pan-African flag, the African Gen Z, this is an era for Africans to liberate Africa from imperialism.
So please subscribe to our channel, and don't only subscribe, share your beautiful comments, and of course share our channel as citizens, a patriotic nationalist, to subscribe and of course to be watching and to support